Hello, this is Benjamin with ARI, your website company, and the point of this video will be to work on some of the organization and the visuals that you have on your homepage. This video is called Homepage Organization. The first thing we'll do once you have logged into the editor, on the dashboard here, the first page you'll see every single time you'll log in. We'll go down the page in the middle of our page until we see a box labeled Sites. Within Sites, we'll click on Domains. And then from the long list of addresses here, the only one that we're looking to open up in a brand new tab is, of course, the only one that states ARI build in the address. Now first, before we get going on some of the visuals that you can change on the homepage, let's first get down some terminology. Starting from the top of the page, going down. First, you have your header. Your header includes your primary navigation, your logo, your search bar, and any other information you have up here, such as phone numbers and emails, and of course your social media buttons that you have here. The next area down would be our Hero Shot area. Hero Shot is simply a large high-resolution image that makes up the top background of your homepage of your site. The next we have our CTA section, which just stands for Call to Action, which refers to the large buttons that you see here. Next we have our Product Group area. And then the logo bar and the homepage paragraph are both located within the main content area. And then finally, down at the bottom, we have our footer, which contains your contact information, hours, a miniature map, available promotions, and of course your social media buttons once again. We'll jump back over to our editor. And to begin editing the visuals on that home page, we'll jump back to the dashboard. We'll go down to that box labeled Sites once again, but this time we'll go into Layouts. Now there is usually only two different layouts, sometimes three here. Essentially the ones that you'll have listed here when you log in will most likely be an internal page layout, which of course helps you to go through and define some of the visuals that you see only on your internal pages. You have your home page, which defines the visuals and organization of the home page. And then some individuals I have noticed lately also have a separate layout for your Contact Us page as well. We'll click on the home page, of course. Okay. You can see that those terminology that we went over just on the site a minute ago was helpful. Let's get into some of the options that we can mess around with, so to speak. First, probably the biggest one that I get asked. They're looking at the home page of the site and they're like, hey Ben, can I take this product group with these units that I really need to sell and move it a bit further up the page vertically? Yes, you can. So let's say we wanted to switch this product group around with this CTA section. Very easy. Jump back to your editor, click, drag, and drop. Then, unless your special publish lights up down here in the lower right-hand corner, all you'll have to do is click on your name in the upper right-hand corner, and of course, publish changes. Now, if we go back to our page and refresh the page, we can see that product group is now above those CTAs. Excellent. Now, one of the other things I get asked is, okay, Ben, I really don't like the font that you guys used in this top header area for the address, for the title above the search, for any of these parent or children navigation. Can I change the font and font color for this area? Yes, you can. Jump back to your editor. We'll go into Header, go all the way over to the right, and click on the large number 2 pencil you see here. Then if you simply wanted to change up your text, go down to the very last one that you see here, typography, and you have quite a few options. As you can see, I went through and defined a custom color. It gives you a full color grid to select that color from, and it has all your typical colors that you would see. So you have the red, green, blue, you have that one, and of course you have your digital hex code. Font family, I said I want custom. I don't want to use any of the ones that are on their stock. And as far as font choices, you've got a lot. Next would be your overall font size. Font weight would be whether you want it to be bold or not, essentially. Font style, italic or regular. Text align, if you want all of your text to seem that is aligning to right, left, or center. Text transform, this is an interesting one. No matter how you type it, if you want it to appear all uppercase or all lowercase, you can define that here. And of course, it set it as the default, which the default for the page is in fact to do uppercase. That isn't always the default, but that is what it is for this page. And of course, if you want to underline your text, you can do that as well. Then you get into letter spacing and line height. If you find that your letters are running into each other or overlapping each other, you can increase the letter spacing that you see here, and it'll increase the actual space in between the letters. Line height. If you have multiple lines of text, let's say in that navigation that you're working with, and you find that they are overlapping each other, once again, you can increase this going from left to right to increase the actual distance in between the lines of text if you need. It helps with overall alignment. Then of course we'll hit save. It says that it's been updated. We'll close out of this menu, publish appearance settings, click on my name, publish changes. And now if we go back to the site, we can see that the actual spacing in between the letters has increased in words like in stock and parts and apparel. Other things that you can do within this area, let's say that you wanted to throw, instead of having it be slightly transparent to view the hero shot that you have behind, you wanted to have it a solid color or do a fade from left to right. You certainly can. Jump back to your editor. Once again, we'll click on that large pencil that we see here, and we'll go into background settings. Now you can see what I chose was to do a color or gradient, so I could have chose a solid color or a gradient. I decided to go with gradient, so I turned on the enable background gradient. I chose my first color from that color grid like we saw before, and my second color. It says, okay, how do you want it to fade? Well, I want it to fade from this color to this color, going horizontally from left to right. But you do have other options. Vertical, diagonal, radial, which basically gives you a solid circle of this color, your first color in the center, and then fades out to this color on the outside, which is interesting. And then of course, if you look at it and you're like, you know what, I don't want to redefine these colors, but I want to switch their position. In other words, I want to go from light to dark instead of dark to light. You could just easily, instead of having to manually type these back in, you could just go reverse. We'll close back out of there. Another question that I get asked a lot is okay, Ben, I really don't like the actual background picture that I have here in the hero shot area. Can I change that? Yes. Jump back to your editor. We'll go to the far right of hero shot. Once again, click on the pencil. Go to background settings. And of course, for background type, I chose image instead of color or gradient. And then you have your two different background images. What this means is when people are looking at it on desktop, they will see this image. And when they're looking at it on a mobile device or a tablet or something smaller than a desktop or laptop screen, they will see whatever image you have in here. And yes, if you like, you can have two different images, or you can simply have an image on the desktop and none on the mobile, or vice versa. To pick these images is the exact same image browser that you're used to using. You'd go Image Picker. It brings up your file browser that you're used to. If you want to use one of the existing ones that's in here, that's fine. Or if you want to upload a new image, select Files. We'll go ahead and grab a random picture off of my computer today just for demonstration purposes. So let's go ahead and use something from in here. And let's go with this beautiful one-off car that we see here. Once you have a full green status bar and 100%, we'll jump back to Browse. We'll go find that Wiseman. Now, I'm not going to change out my background image on this, but when you go to do this, a couple things that you'll want to remember. Do not use the recommended size. Go down and use the original. If you want people to be able to see the entire image in your hero shot, make sure that you use original, and then you would go choose selected. Now, whenever you choose, you change out these images, something that is going to happen is this use full resolution image is going to, that switch is going to flip off. You will want to turn it back on. Reason being is if you were to leave it off after changing the background, when someone looks at your site, the background of your site may become distorted, blurry, or pixelated, as they call it. Background position, if you've ever messed around with the stock desktop pictures control on a Microsoft computer, you'll understand what these are. But essentially, I always use your top center, or if you're afraid to mess with it, just leave it on the default. Background size, you'll either want to go with 100% or cover are the two best options. The rest of these, you can only end up seeing a small chunk of the image. In other words, get in here, try 100 by 100, try cover, and whichever one looks better, leave it as that option essentially. Repeat. Now, if you wanted to have this image repeat quite a few times in that background, which I can't see you wanting to do, but if you wanted to, you can have it repeat horizontally, vertically, or both, and end up to having this background image appear as a basic checkerboard in that background. And then these two options we will not talk about today. And then, of course, you'd go down and hit Save. Your special publish would come up right here. And then, of course, you would go through and publish to make those changes. Another question that I get asked quite a bit is, okay, Ben, with these CTAs that you have down here, I do not like the imagery, and I also do not like the order. Can I change those? Yes, you can. If you don't like the stock imagery that we initially put in here when we build out the site, you can change that out, and you also can change the order. First, let's go over how to change the order. We'll expand CTAs all the way. Now, if all we wanted to do was change the order, really easy. Just click, drag, and drop, and it would go ahead and change that order. Let's say you're like, you know what, I really don't like that image for service. I want to change that out. Certainly. Click on here, and let's go into Edit Configuration. Okay, so here's where you can change the entire look of that button. Your title that you see here, service, is of course the text that you see printed right here. Your description should be a one-sentence description on what someone will find when they click on that button. And you can see with the current effect that's been applied to the site, it displays here. Button text and CSS class we do not have to worry about. The image picker is exactly the same thing as what we went over before. The only thing that you really have to remember about CTAs is if you're going to assign a new image, make sure that you take a look at the original image that was there. In this case, let's go with, I believe it is this one. And I did have to go through and size down the image. So you can see that this is the original size of the image. So when you are replacing these, take a look at the original size of the image and use any basic type of photo editor in order to size down the image you want to replace it with. The typical size that you'll see of these CTAs, just as a point, will be 500 by 500. In other words, length and then height and the measurement of pixels. Then, of course, you'd hit Choose Selected to replace that image. The image width in pixels we don't have to worry about. The URL. If you did want to lead this CTA to another place on your site, you certainly could. Jump back to your editor. And let's say that you wanted to lead it over to the Contact Us page, just as an example. Well, all you would have to do is go up to your address bar, highlight the entire address, right-click, copy, jump back over to our site, and of course you would just replace that with the new address, and the next time someone clicked it through, it would go ahead and lead them over to the Contact Us page. If you don't like the current styling of the button, you've got 3 different styles that you can choose from. I do not have definitions of what each style includes. It's kind of a guess and check method to see which one that you prefer. We'll jump back to Dashboard and back into Layouts where we were. So underneath Sites, once again, we'll jump into Layouts. And back to our home page. Okay, and then the last thing that we can talk about is, of course, the same text changes that you apply to the header. You can also go through and apply to the footer. And the same color fill or gradient that we talked about filling the header with here back on the home page, you can also apply, as you can see I've done, to every single section. So in other words, if you want to apply that same gradient or background color to every single section of this home page, you can do it in the same way that I just went over. The only exception is, for whatever reason, as you can see when I tried to apply it to the footer, that is the only area that will remain the stock color, whatever they decide to use in the initial build. But besides that, you can change out the background solid color or gradient of every other section you see on the home page. Those are some of the most requested changes that I get. Of course, there are more that you can do because it's a highly complex system, and it's something that you'll have to dive in and kind of experiment with yourself. This has been a presentation on homepage layout and organization by Benjamin with ARI, your website company. Thank you very much for your time.